Reimagining Success, episode 199. You're listening to Reimagining Success, the podcast where we help you reimagine your future, designing a life and career beyond the 9 to 5 that allows you the freedom, flexibility and fulfillment that you've been dreaming of. I'm your host, Anna Lundberg. Now, let's get started on those dreams. Hello there and welcome back as we look at effective work-life integration, which sounds very serious, but we're taking quite a nice, relaxed look at it, given that it's the summer period here in the Northern Hemisphere. And for this episode, I wanted to make things super simple because we talk about my 5 L's, or at least I talk about my 5 L's, which are the 5 areas of your life that really matter. The whole point of that model is to help you to elevate beyond just looking at the work domain, and even within work to go beyond looking at the traditional markers of success and to consider the impact you want to make and so on, right? So it's a really useful tool and I definitely recommend it. If you're not familiar with it, check out the episodes on this, but also the free resource. So you can go to onestepoutside.com/success, onestepoutside.com/success. At the same time, we've been talking about designing that lifestyle business, the business that's going to support your lifestyle. We've been talking about dropping your balls. We looked at former Coca-Cola CEO Brian Dyson's rubber versus glass balls analogy. And there are some balls you can drop and they'll bounce back up again because they're rubber, and there are others like your health, that of your family, your relationships with your partner and so on. They're glass and they'll be scuffed or unfortunately completely crushed into a gazillion pieces. So there are all these different goals and we want to manage our priorities and get that all elusive balance, or as I prefer to call it, integration. I talk about structure, I talk about time blocks and so on. Now, ultimately, these are all tools that I hope will help you, big picture concepts and frameworks that will shift your thinking, as well as some really practical frameworks that you can use and implement. When it comes down to it, if you're a simple soul, and I like to think I am, if you're a creative who doesn't like all these, tools and systems and schedules and so on, if you just like to keep things simple, as most of us do, I want to really distill all this down to 3 things that matter for me. And I think in this context of designing this business that's going to support your lifestyle, designing an enjoyable and fulfilling business that's going to allow you to do the things you want to do, spend time with the people you love and so on, right? And that means there are 3 things to nurture. So yes, I've gone down from the 5 L's to 3 things. What are those 3 things you need to think about? Well, they are my business, because yes, that is a priority. We'll look at why in a moment if that's not clear. My family, whatever that looks like, and myself. So I need to nurture, and I believe you need to nurture yourself, your family, and your business. Those are the core things. Now, you get to choose what each of those 3 things mean. Your family could be the sort of 2.4 children kind of scenario that's the traditional format. It could be a dog. It could be aging parents. It could be aunts and uncles, sisters, nieces, nephews, cousins, whatever that looks like. But it's those 3 buckets, bubbles, areas that really need to be nurtured. And I think, and I have yet to implement this, so we'll see, but I think this very simple triangle or Venn diagram of 3 things is a really good prompt just to always bring it back to you. Okay, am I taking care of myself? Am I taking care of my family? And am I taking care of my business? And ideally, a bit like the Ikigai diagram, the Venn diagram, where we look at the intersection of the 4 different areas, we're looking at an intersection of 3 different areas here, right? Ideally, we're designing and building a business that allows us to take care of ourselves, take care of our families, financially, time-wise, and so on, right? Ideally, we're taking care of our health so that we can then take care of our family and our business. Ideally, we're nurturing our family relationships so that our mental and emotional health is good, so that they support us in our work and business. So they're all very much mutually reinforcing. And it doesn't mean that every single choice we make has to tick all 3 boxes. But for example, if I'm considering, in a really practical example here, a particular project or client, a workshop that's going to happen at some point, or a trip, for a meeting or something, I can ask myself, okay, is this taking my business in the direction I want to take it? because sometimes you get distracted. I mean, sometimes you do it because it's simply so financially lucrative, and that's fine, as long as you're clear on why you're doing it. Sometimes it's a really exciting project. Sometimes it's completely aligned with your vision and so on, right? So number one, is it actually moving your business forward? But then secondly, how does it fit with my family life? So whether you call it work-life balance, integration, your boundaries and priorities, I've had clients before who were working into their half-term holidays and summers and Christmas and so on. I myself had my company accounts due, and I was sitting on Christmas Eve and involved my brother-in-law, which is always a bit controversial and totally unacceptable, which I recognize now. But that can happen, if it's compromising and infiltrating your boundaries that you've tried to set. How does that project or client or trip sit with your family life? And then for yourself too. When I say yes, again, a very concrete example would be I do these workshops for corporates, and I tend to do them certain times. Obviously, you can't completely decide the time, but generally I do them sort of 1 o'clock, midday, afternoon, maybe late morning. I these days say no to the evening ones, which used to be my favorite, or the early morning ones. I also did some for a while that were super early in the morning, because we thought, you know what, I'm not doing anything anyway, so I might as well do that first thing. But it was always hell getting out of bed, especially when the kids were teeny tiny, and doing it in the dark and so on. It wasn't particularly enjoyable. But the worst one is the 7 o'clock one in the evening, because we do a tech test at 6:30. This is pretty much prime bedtime, and inevitably things will kick off and I'll hear them screaming, and I'll be late for the webinar and so on. And yes, I'm getting money for it, but it's just not worth it. So a few weeks ago I did say yes to one of those, because it was a last minute request on the Monday for me to fill in on Wednesday. I have a long-standing relationship with this client. I wanted to help them out, and hey, it's an additional X amount of money in the bank, right? But the whole day I was kind of dreading it. During it, it was like, oh, I can hear them next door. And afterwards, I was just like, never again. So these are the lessons we learn. So again, coming back to those three things, for each new opportunity that comes along, how does it sit with the business goals and plans and strategy and vision? How does it sit with my family balance, life priorities? And how is it going to fit for me? Is it going to cause me stress and migraines? And so in my case, if you're a morning person, you don't want to maybe do a late night thing. If you're better in the evening, you maybe don't want to get up early in the morning. You hate traveling, you love traveling, and so on. All the things we talk about when we're designing and building this business that's going to work for you. So 3 things to nurture. Let's go through each of these step by step. So let's start with the business. The thing is, I'm passionate about my business, and I hope you are too, and I hope you will be as you design and build it as you want it to. I love working with my clients. I really want to help them. And more prosaically, the business is what supports my lifestyle. That's the whole point, right? So earning the money, having these client relationships, developing these programs, doing the marketing that I do, and even doing this podcast is what allows me, first of all, inherently the fulfillment and enjoyment and meaning and passion, leveraging my skills, all that ikigai and purpose. And secondly, financially, it's what allows me to have the income that I need to support my lifestyle. And thirdly, the particular business model that I'm following is what allows me, partly through obligation, to only work certain days a week, and therefore have the balance and time for my family and so on, right? So for me, business is so, so important. Again, if you're designing and building this so-called lifestyle business that's supporting the lifestyle that you want, you'll be the same. You're designing it to sit at that core of the ikigai, the purpose, using the skills that you want to be using, and really in your zone of genius, work that you love doing. You're doing something that feels meaningful, you're making impact, and you're getting money from it, right? So that's super important. And then it is, by definition, not only giving you inherent joy and value and fulfillment, but also giving you the financials and the freedom to do what you want to do in the rest of your areas, right? So that's why the business is so important. I'm so passionate about it. It's so critical, especially now we're, renovating the house. We're doing all sorts of things that cost a lot of money. It's all the more important, right? So business, I have to nurture the business for my own personal fulfillment and meaning and purpose and role as a businesswoman, not just a mother and whatever. And also because it's what pays the bills for me. Secondly, family. A lot of people talk amazingly about family first. Now, there is this whole talk, and I've written an article about, can you have it all, this kind of work-life balance as a high achiever. Family first businesses do exist. the way in which I design my business and many of my clients is absolutely so that you can have both the fulfillment and the financial security and freedom, and also put your kids first and so on. I see more and more people, which I think is amazing and which we should be celebrating, saying, hey, my dog's barking in the background, or, the kid comes onto camera, which, is a personal choice if you do it or not. I don't do it. But, I can't have a call then because I need to pick the kids up from school, or actually my child is ill, so I can't have the call today, can we move it? Or somebody the other day said, I couldn't make it because I was seeing my aging grandmother, which is also totally the right priority. So whatever family looks like for you, whether it's your kids, your parents, your partner, your friends, nieces, nephews, animals, right? How can you nurture those relationships? Having quality time with your partner. And by the way, if you're single, also making sure that you can nurture those future relationships. So if you're dating and spending time with other people in your community, meeting new people and so on, do you want to, first of all, because it's an intentional choice, stay in touch with your parents? And if so, how can you make sure that you're prioritizing that? Not through obligation, but through recognizing that they're not getting any younger and you want to be there for them and you enjoy being with them, hopefully, and they want to be with you and so on. Your siblings, for me, I always think of the fact that my sister is the one who's going to be there when our parents aren't there in future, and friends as well, right? Friends can fall into this category as well, even though, unfortunately, to some extent, friendships can kind of fall by the wayside a little bit, or at least to deprioritize the frequency, if not the quality, is decreasing when you have kids and a career and so on. We've reached the age where we kind of, unfortunately, something has to give, I guess. But it is important to nurture that too, because when the kids are fully grown and so an empty nest and all that, then of course we have nothing left if we've put everything into the kids. So that's why it's so important to nurture yourself and your business as well. So nurturing your business, nurturing your family, whatever that looks like, and your relationships with your family, your role in your family, and then finally nurturing yourself. Self-care is not selfish. When you are your business, taking care of yourself is taking care of your business. Just like with a business, there is inherent value in taking care of yourself because you'll feel good, you'll be healthy, you won't die. That's really important. But also, it supports everything else in your life. It's what's going to allow you to have fulfilling friendships and so on, to pursue your hobbies. It's what's going to allow you to actually run the business, because of course if you're ill all the time you won't be able to show up for your clients, you won't be able to deliver what you want to be doing and so on, right? So again, like all three of them, it's inherently valuable and important intrinsically, and then also it supports the other things, and all three again are complementary. It's not a question of zero sum, it's not choosing one over the other. What we're striving for, it's not like we're trying to get 10 out of 10 for each one, just like with the 5Ls model. It's not about getting a perfect score in each one. It's about considering these three different buckets, three different areas, three bubbles, whatever we want to call them, three important things to nurture, and make sure that if we are deprioritizing or neglecting something, we're doing so intentionally, knowing, okay, yes, I'm prioritizing this business project or whatever it is because the money is so good that, yes, sort of in the immediate term, it kind of compromises. I will be a little bit stressed and I will have to, not do XYZ with my family for a little bit, but it means, and hopefully that time frame is not too long, because you don't want to put it off too long, that we'll be able to afford to do XYZ, to have that holiday together, or to join this activity, or to have whatever experience to be able to live a better life in some way, right? So likewise, you could choose, okay, you know what, I'm not going to push through that deadline for my book or my course I wanted to launch because it's holiday, I just want to be present, or I need to really take care of my health right now. I'm so tired. And I've not been very well and I need to focus on that. Unfortunately, that does mean intentionally deprioritizing maybe a little bit of the business and not perhaps staying in touch as much with friends and extended family. I need to right now take care of myself, take care of my kids, perhaps if they're having issues, or if you just feel like you've been neglecting that as well, right? So the point is to be intentional about these things. But again, super, super simple model. 3 things: draw the little circles or triangle, put it on a Post-it note. You need to nurture yourself, your family, and your business. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. I hope it's not too simple. I think it's a very important reminder still for all of us of what really matters. And I look forward to hearing your thoughts. Thanks so much for listening, and I'll see you next week. Bye for now. If you're finding yourself stressed, torn between your work and your personal life and at risk of burnout, whether you're in a full-time corporate job or working for yourself, and even or maybe especially if you are successful from the traditional perspective of job title, salary, income, then now is the time to make some changes. It is absolutely possible, I believe and know it is possible, to have a thriving career, a thriving business, and also have time for everything and everyone else that matters in your life. Get in touch to book a free consultation to discuss how we can work together to help you reshape your business, reshape your priorities so that your career fits around those priorities in your life rather than trying to make it work the other way around. So you can book that free call at onestepoutside.com/call, and I look forward to speaking to you.